Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most surprising and astonishing stories in the world of United States coin collecting. I am talking about the 1998 Washington $quarter coin. Now, you might look at a quarter and think it's only worth 25 cents, something you just toss into a vending machine or slide into a parking meter. But the truth is, some quarters have hidden secrets, rare varieties, or unique errors that make them worth life-changing amounts of money. And this particular coin we're talking about today, the 1998 Washington quarter, has a current market value of a staggering $4,070,000. Yes, you heard me right, over $4 million for a single coin that was originally worth just 25 cents. Now let's take a journey into the history, the details, the minting process, and the reasons why this specific quarter has captured the attention of collectors and investors around the world. We will talk about what makes it so valuable, how to identify one, the story behind its rarity, and why people are willing to pay millions of dollars to own such a small piece of American numismatic history. So sit back, relax, and listen carefully, because by the end of this video you will have all the knowledge you need to understand why a simple 1998 quarter could change someone's life forever. First, let's start with some background. The Washington quarter has been around since 1932. It was originally designed to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. The obverse side of the coin features Washington's portrait, while the reverse originally carried the image of an eagle with its wings spread. The design became one of the most recognizable and widely used coins in circulation. By the time we get to the 1990s, the Washington quarter was still being produced in huge numbers. In 1998, the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark on the front of the coin, produced millions of quarters. But out of those millions, a very tiny fraction contained an error or a unique strike that would elevate their value to something beyond imagination. The question is, how does a coin that is so common, with millions produced, end up being worth $4,070,000? The answer lies in the rarity of errors, the demand of collectors, and the preservation of certain coins in almost flawless condition. Coin collectors always look for what is known as a key date, or a rare variety. A key date is a coin that is harder to find, usually because of low mintage numbers or because most of them didn't survive in good condition. But sometimes, it's not about the number minted, but about the mistakes or unique features during the minting process. In the case of the 1998 Washington quarter, there is a very specific error that makes it stand out. This coin was struck using a transitional die. To explain, 1999 was the year the U.S. Mint introduced the state quarters program, which completely changed the reverse design of the Washington quarter. But in 1998, while preparing for that transition, some test dies and experimental planchets were used. It's believed that some of these transitional test strikes accidentally entered circulation, carrying features that do not belong to regular 1998 quarters. This kind of minting mishap is what excites collectors and drives prices into the millions. Now, let's break down what you should look for if you ever come across a 1998 D quarter. First, check the mint mark. The D mint mark is located on the obverse of the coin, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Next, examine the details of the design. Some of these rare 1998 D quarters display sharper details, slight differences in the lettering, or unusual spacing that indicate they were not struck with regular production dies. The quality of the strike is also important. Some of the most valuable coins are graded mint state, meaning they have never been in circulation and show no wear. A 1998 D quarter with flawless luster, no scratches, and sharp details is already rare, but if it also carries one of these transitional or experimental errors, then you are looking at a multi-million-dollar treasure. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, how can a single coin possibly reach a market value of $4,070,000? The answer lies in the power of rarity and demand. Think about it. There are millions of coin collectors around the world, many of them specializing in quarters. Out of those millions, only a handful of these rare 1998 D quarters are known to exist. When supply is that low and demand is that high, the price naturally skyrockets. Wealthy collectors are willing to bid against each other to own a coin that only one or two other people in the entire world might have. And in the world of rare coins, it only takes two determined bidders to push prices into the millions. Another factor that adds to the value is history. The 1998 D quarter represents a transition from the classic Washington quarter design to the brand new state quarters program that would go on to become one of the most successful coin series in U.S. history. Collectors love transitional pieces because they tell a story of change, of evolution in U.S. coinage. It's like owning a bridge between two eras, a moment frozen in metal that reflects both the past and the future. This historical significance makes the coin not only a numismatic treasure but also a cultural artifact. Let's also talk about grading, because this is critical when it comes to value. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfect, flawless coin. For a 1998 D quarter to reach millions in value, it usually has to grade extremely high, often MS67, MS68, or even higher. Professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC authenticate and certify these coins, giving collectors confidence that they are genuine. A high-grade certification can make the difference between a coin worth a few $100s and a coin worth millions. Now imagine finding one of these coins in your pocket change, in a jar of coins sitting on your shelf, or hidden away in an old collection passed down from a family member. The idea that a simple quarter could be worth $4,070,000 is mind-blowing. That's why so many collectors constantly check their change, because you just never know what rare treasure might be hiding in plain sight. The story of the 1998 D Washington quarter also teaches us an important lesson about the value of preservation. Many coins that could have been valuable were lost because they were used, scratched, or damaged over time. Those that survived in pristine condition are the ones that command the highest premiums today. It's a reminder that even everyday items, when carefully preserved, can become priceless over time. Collectors love to share stories about these discoveries. There have been auctions where people were completely shocked to see a 1998 D quarter selling for hundreds of thousands, and eventually surpassing the $4 million mark. Every time one comes up for sale, the numismatic community buzzes with excitement, because it reaffirms that hidden treasures still exist and can appear when least expected. So, what can you do if you want to search for one of these coins? The best place to start is by carefully checking your pocket change, coin rolls from banks, and any old coin collections you or your relatives may have. Look for the 1998 D mint mark, inspect the details under good lighting or with a magnifying glass, and pay attention to the condition. If you suspect you have something unusual, it's always a good idea to get the coin professionally graded. Even if it's not the rare multi-million-dollar variety, certain high-grade 1998 D quarters can still be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, which is still a fantastic return on a 25-cent coin. To wrap this up, the 1998 D Washington $quarter coin is a perfect example of why coin collecting is so fascinating. It's not just about money, but about history, rarity, and the thrill of discovery. This small piece of metal that we so often take for granted can hold incredible value, both financially and culturally. And for the lucky few who happen to own one of these ultra-rare examples, that 25-cent coin has turned into a life-changing fortune of $4,070,000. So, the next time you get change back at the store, don't ignore your quarters. Take a close look, because you might just be holding a piece of history worth more than your house, your car, or even your entire savings account. Coin collecting is proof that treasures are still out there waiting to be found, and maybe, just maybe, the next millionaire-making coin could end up in your hands. Welcome back everyone to another exciting deep dive into the world of rare and valuable coins. Today we are going to talk about one of the most surprising and extraordinary finds in United States coinage, the 1996 D mint mark Washington $quarter coin. This coin may look ordinary at first glance, but its history, rarity, and collector demand have pushed its value into the unbelievable range of $675,000 on today's market. That's right, a single quarter that you might have once used to pay for parking, gum, or a phone call could actually be worth more than most people's homes. Let's start by going back in time for a moment. The year 1996 marked the 65th anniversary of the Washington Quarter Series, which began in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. The design featuring Washington's portrait on the obverse had become one of the most familiar and longest-running designs in American coinage. By the mid-1990s, millions of these quarters were being minted every year, particularly at the Denver Mint, which is where our focus coin, the 1990 60 quarter, originates. Now you might be wondering, if millions of 1990 60 quarters were struck, what makes this particular coin so valuable? That's a great question, and the answer lies in a combination of factors: rarity and condition, minting anomalies, historical interest, and collector demand. While hundreds of millions of these coins were minted, the vast majority entered circulation and suffered wear, scratches, and damage from everyday use. Only a very small fraction survived in pristine condition, and even fewer display unique minting characteristics that collectors consider one-of-a-kind treasures. When we talk about the 1990 60 quarter worth $675,000, we are not talking about just any quarter pulled from your change jar. We are talking about a coin that is graded at the absolute highest levels of preservation, possibly mint state 68 or higher, with flawless surfaces, bold strike details, and sometimes unique errors that occurred at the Denver Mint. These qualities create extreme rarity because they combine historical significance with near-perfect preservation. Let's break this down even further. The Denver Mint produced over 900 million Washington quarters in 1996, so finding one in your pocket would not have been unusual. But think about what happens to a coin once it leaves the mint. It goes into bags, it rattles against other coins, it gets counted, wrapped in rolls, stored in vaults, handled by banks, and eventually it gets tossed into circulation where it can be dropped, scraped, or worn down in vending machines. By the time a coin has been in circulation for just a few months, it already loses that crisp mint luster that collectors value so highly. That's why gem quality examples are so incredibly rare. Now let's talk about mint errors. Errors can dramatically increase a coin's value. A 1990 60 quarter with an off-center strike, doubled die obverse, or even a clipped planchet could catch the attention of serious collectors. Sometimes the wrong metal planchet was used, creating transitional errors that are worth astonishing amounts of money. While not every 1990 60 error is worth hundreds of thousands, the combination of the Denver Mint mark, the right type of error, and flawless condition can create an astronomical valuation like the one we are talking about today. What's really fascinating is how collectors and grading companies determine the value of a coin like this. Professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC examine every detail of the coin under magnification. They look at strike sharpness, luster, toning, and the presence or absence of contact marks. Out of millions of 1990 60 quarters, only one or two might achieve the nearly perfect grades required to reach a value of $675,000. That's the needle in a haystack that collectors dream of finding. Think for a moment about how extraordinary this is. A coin that originally cost just 25 cents could now buy a luxury home, several new cars, or even pay for an entire college education and more. This transformation from pocket change to treasure chest is one of the reasons coin collecting is so thrilling. Anyone could stumble across one of these coins in an old collection, in a forgotten drawer, or even in circulation if they are incredibly lucky. Now let's talk about the broader context. In the 1990s, the United States Mint was preparing for one of the biggest changes in modern coinage history, the State Quarters Program, which would launch in 1999. This program completely revitalized public interest in coins and collecting. But before that program, the 1996 Washington Quarter was still part of the classic design series, making it one of the last quarters minted before the dramatic changeover. That fact alone adds a layer of historical significance for collectors who appreciate transitional moments in U.S. coinage history. Another reason this coin carries such a premium is demand. Collectors who specialize in Washington quarters, or even in modern mint errors, are always searching for that one record-setting piece to add to their collections. When a coin like the 1990 60 appears in top grade, or with a unique minting anomaly, it often becomes the subject of fierce bidding wars at auctions. Each collector knows that only one or two examples exist at this level, and whoever owns it has a centerpiece that can define an entire collection. It's also important to note that market values in numismatics are influenced not only by rarity but also by timing. Sometimes a coin skyrockets in value because of renewed public attention, media coverage, or because a wealthy collector is determined to secure the piece at any cost. In those moments, the price realized at auction can set a new benchmark, which is how we get valuations like $675,000 for the 1990 60 quarter. You might be asking yourself, how could someone tell if they had a valuable 1990 60 quarter in their hands? First, look for the mint mark, the small letter D located on the obverse of the coin near the date. That tells you the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. Next, examine the condition. If the coin looks circulated, with scratches, discoloration, or worn features, it likely holds only face value or a small premium. But if the coin has blazing luster, sharp details, and no obvious marks, it may be worth having professionally graded. Finally, always check for errors. Look for doubling in the letters, misaligned designs, or unusual shapes on the rim or edges. These clues can indicate a mint error that elevates the coin's rarity and value. Stories have circulated of people who discovered extraordinary coins in the most unlikely places. Someone once found a rare quarter in a jar that had been sitting untouched for decades. Another person stumbled upon one in a coin roll they purchased from the bank. These stories remind us that hidden treasures are still out there, waiting to be discovered by sharp-eyed collectors or even by everyday people who take a moment to check their change. The journey of the 1990 60 quarter from pocket change to a $675,000 prize is also a reflection of human fascination with rarity and history. Coins are more than metal discs. They are little time machines that carry with them the history of when and where they were struck, the technological limitations of the mint, the economy of the era, and the symbolism chosen to represent the nation. Owning a rare coin is like holding a piece of that story in your hand. As we wrap up, let's reflect on what makes the 1990 60 quarter such a standout. It is the combination of extreme rarity and pristine condition, the possibility of extraordinary mint errors, the historical timing just before the state quarters program, and the intense demand from collectors. Together, these factors elevate what seems like an ordinary coin into the realm of treasures worth nearly $700,000. So next time you come across a quarter, don't just spend it without looking. Take a close look at the year, the mint mark, and the condition. Who knows, maybe you too will stumble upon one of these incredible rarities. Coin collecting isn't just about history or money, it's about discovery, patience, and the thrill of realizing that something extraordinary could be hiding in plain sight. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the story of the 1990 60 mint mark Washington quarter, stay tuned because we have many more fascinating coin stories to share. From pennies worth tens of thousands to dimes and nickels valued at millions, the world of coin collecting is full of surprises. And who knows, the next story we tell might inspire you to take a second look at your own collection, or even at the change in your pocket. Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Today we are diving deep into the world of one of the most surprising and incredibly valuable coins that might still be hiding in your pocket change or coin collection. I am talking about the 1990 D mint mark Washington $quarter coin, a coin that many people overlook because it looks so ordinary, yet the right version of this coin has been recorded in the collector's market selling for as high as $577,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, over $500,000 for a quarter that costs just 25 cents to use in everyday life. If you stick with me through this video, I am going to tell you everything you need to know about this fascinating coin, its history, its details, its errors, and why collectors are willing to pay an absolute fortune for it today. Let us begin with the basics of the Washington quarter itself. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 as a way to honor the 200th anniversary of the birth of George Washington, the first President of the United States. The design was created by sculptor John Flanagan, and it has become one of the most recognizable pieces of U.S. coinage. On the obverse or front side, you will find the profile of George Washington facing left, with the word Liberty above his head, the motto "In God We Trust" to the left, and the year of issue below. On the reverse or back side, we see a powerful American eagle perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, symbolizing strength and peace. This design lasted all the way until the State Quarters program began in 1999, making the 1990 quarter one of the later issues in the classic Washington Eagle design series. Now the quarter in question is the 1990 quarter with the D Mint mark, meaning it was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. The Denver Mint is known for producing massive amounts of circulating coins, and in 1990 they struck hundreds of millions of quarters. So naturally, you might be asking, how can a coin that was minted in such high numbers possibly be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? The answer lies in the details, the condition, and the errors that sometimes occur during the minting process. One thing to understand about coin collecting is that not all coins are created equal. Even though millions of 1990 D quarters were made, most of them circulated heavily and ended up scratched, worn down, and damaged. Collectors and grading companies like PCGS and NGC place the highest value on coins that are in pristine condition, especially those graded Mint State 65 and higher. A coin in Mint State 67 or Mint State 68 with full sharp details, no distracting marks, and beautiful luster is considered a rarity because so few survive in that condition. Those are the coins that command extraordinary prices at auctions. But beyond just the condition, there are special error varieties of the 1990 D quarter that drive its value into the stratosphere. Mint errors can happen for a variety of reasons. Sometimes a coin is struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the wrong metal blank was used. For example, a quarter could have been accidentally struck on a nickel planchet, or even on a foreign coin blank. Other times, double die errors occur where the design elements are doubled and visible to the naked eye. There are also off-center strikes, broad strikes, and missing clad layer errors, each of which can make a coin far more valuable than its face value. For the 1990 D quarter, one of the most famous varieties is the off-metal strike error. There are reports of 1990 D quarters struck on copper-nickel planchets intended for other denominations. These rare mistakes are often authenticated by grading services and sold to serious collectors for staggering sums of money. Combine this with a coin in nearly perfect condition and you have the recipe for a coin that can sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now let us take a closer look at why the 1990 D quarter in top grade is worth $577,000 in today's market. When collectors bid on a coin at auction, they are competing for the very best of the best. The 1990 D quarter that reached this kind of value was graded at an exceptionally high level, meaning it was preserved nearly flawlessly since the day it was struck. No circulation wear, no significant marks, and full original mint luster. Coins of this caliber are exceedingly rare, because think about it, who in 1990 would set aside a brand new quarter and keep it untouched for decades? Most of us would spend it immediately at the store or vending machine. That is why finding such a coin today is so rare and why collectors are willing to go all in for ownership. Another important factor is population reports. These reports show how many coins have been graded at each level by grading companies. If there are only one or two examples in Mint State 68 for the 1990 D quarter, then the competition to own them becomes intense. With wealthy collectors and investors in the mix, prices can skyrocket to unbelievable levels, as we see with the value of over $500,000. Let us not forget that the Washington Quarter Series is one of the most widely collected in America. Generations of people grew up using these coins in everyday life, so there is nostalgia and cultural significance attached to them. Many collectors try to build complete sets of Washington quarters by date and mint mark, and the 1990 D in pristine condition becomes a key coin to finishing that set at the highest possible grade. That alone adds to the demand and the price. Now you might be wondering, how can you tell if you have a valuable 1990 D quarter in your collection or pocket change? The first step is to look for the D mint mark, which will be located just to the right of Washington's ponytail on the obverse. If you see the D, you know it was minted in Denver. Next, examine the coin closely for its condition. If it is heavily worn, it is likely worth only face value, but if it looks sharp and shiny with little to no wear, then you might have something special. To truly know, you would need to submit the coin to a professional grading service, who can determine its grade and certify its authenticity. It is also worth checking for any unusual features that could indicate an error. Look for doubling on the lettering or numbers. Look for missing clad layers where the copper core is exposed, or check to see if the coin looks slightly off-center. Any of these errors can dramatically increase value. Stories from collectors often highlight the fact that rare coins can be discovered in the most unexpected places. There have been cases where someone found a valuable quarter like this one in a roll of change from the bank, or in a jar of old coins sitting in the attic, or even in pocket change from a gas station. That is part of the fun of coin collecting, the thrill of the hunt, because you never know when you might stumble upon a life-changing discovery. Let us talk for a moment about the investment side of coins like this. Rare coins are often seen as tangible assets, much like art, stamps, or rare books. Their value is driven by rarity, demand, and condition, and over time many of these coins appreciate in value. A coin like the 1990 D quarter at such a high price point may not just be bought by collectors, but also by investors looking to diversify their portfolios. This is why auction prices can get so competitive. Another angle that makes this coin so interesting is the historical context of 1990 itself. The year 1990 was right before major changes in the U.S. coinage world. The state quarters program launched in 1999 and completely changed the way Americans viewed quarters, sparking a nationwide collecting craze. But in 1990, nobody expected the ordinary eagle reverse quarters to ever become highly collectible. That element of surprise and rarity adds to the story of why this particular date and mint mark in top condition is so desirable. Imagine being one of the lucky individuals who owns this coin today. Owning a 1990 D quarter valued at over $500,000 is not just about having money, it is about having a piece of numismatic history, a treasure that represents the incredible journey of American coinage. And here is something else to consider. With time, population reports and market demand could make this coin even more valuable in the future. If the only examples remain locked away in private collections and fewer appear on the market, the price could go even higher. Coins like this are not just relics of the past, they are investments in the future. So the lesson here is simple: always check your change, always look closely at the coins that pass through your hands, and never underestimate the potential value of what seems to be an ordinary coin. Because as we have seen, an ordinary 1990 D Washington quarter could actually be worth $577,000 today. And that is life-changing money. To wrap things up, remember the key points. The Washington quarter has a long history dating back to 1932. The 1990 D mint mark version may look common, but in pristine condition or with a rare error, it can reach extraordinary values. The highest recorded value is over $500,000, driven by condition, rarity, and collector demand. If you think you might have a 1990 D quarter in great condition, it is worth getting it checked and possibly graded, because you could be holding onto a small fortune without even realizing it. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are going to dive deep into one of the most fascinating coins in United States history, a coin that many people overlook because they see it as just another nickel, but collectors know that it can be worth tens of thousands of dollars if you happen to come across the right one. I am talking about the 1961 D mint mark Jefferson nickel. Believe it or not, a coin that was once worth just 5 cents can now reach a staggering market value of $79,453. That is an amount of money that could change someone's life if they happen to discover one in circulation, in a collection, or even tucked away in a jar of old coins. To truly appreciate why this coin has become so valuable, we need to go back to its origins and understand the history of the Jefferson nickel series. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel that had been circulating since 1913. The United States Mint held a design competition, and the winning design was submitted by Felix Schlag. His portrait of President Thomas Jefferson appeared on the obverse, while the reverse showcased Jefferson's famous home, Monticello. Over the decades, the Jefferson nickel became one of the most recognizable coins in America, and millions upon millions were minted. Because of these huge mintages, many people assume they are not worth collecting, but as we will learn today, certain dates, certain errors, and certain mint conditions can transform an ordinary nickel into a rare treasure worth a fortune. Now let's focus on the year 1961. In that year, the Denver Mint produced a massive number of Jefferson nickels. Over 218 million were struck with the D Mint mark. With such a high mintage, it may seem surprising that any of them could be rare or valuable, but coin collecting is never that simple. Most of those coins entered circulation immediately, meaning they became subject to heavy use, scratches, nicks, and wear. Finding a coin from that year in pristine condition is extremely difficult today. And when you add the possibility of minting errors or unusual strike characteristics, suddenly you have a coin that stands out from the rest and commands massive attention in auctions. So why exactly is the 1961 D Jefferson nickel worth as much as $79,453 in today's market? It comes down to a combination of rarity in top condition, demand from collectors, and the fascinating world of die varieties and mint errors. One of the most significant issues with the 1961 D nickels was the problem of weak strikes. Many of the coins were struck with dies that had worn down, which meant details on Jefferson's hair and Monticello on the reverse did not come out sharply. Coins with weak details are very common. But on the flip side, if you happen to find a coin from 1961 D with a full strong strike, especially one with what collectors call full steps on Monticello, that coin becomes an extreme rarity. The term full steps refers to the horizontal lines on the steps of Monticello. If all the steps are clearly visible without breaks or wear, the coin earns the full steps designation. Collectors go crazy for full steps Jefferson nickels because they are so hard to find, especially from years like 1961. Another factor to consider is condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin with no marks under magnification. The majority of 1961 D nickels are found in lower circulated grades, maybe in the teens or 20s on the scale. But when you find a coin graded in mint state, such as MS65, MS66, or higher, the value skyrockets. Combine that with the full steps designation, and you have the recipe for an ultra-valuable coin. That is how a humble nickel can transform into a piece worth nearly $80,000. In fact, record sales at auction have proven that collectors are willing to pay these huge sums for the rarest examples. Let's imagine for a moment that you are sorting through a jar of old coins, something you may have inherited from a family member. You come across a 1961 nickel with a D mint mark just to the right of Monticello on the reverse. At first, you might not think much of it. After all, you have probably seen hundreds of Jefferson nickels throughout your life. But if you take the time to look closely, especially with a magnifying glass, you might notice something different. Perhaps the steps on Monticello are unusually sharp. Perhaps the coin has a beautiful luster, free of scratches and wear. If so, you could be holding a coin that is not just worth a few cents but potentially tens of thousands of dollars. This is why knowledge is power in the world of coin collecting. Another aspect that makes the 1961 D Jefferson nickel so fascinating is the presence of die varieties. A die variety occurs when the dies used to strike the coins have subtle differences or imperfections. Some 1961 D nickels are known for having repunched mint marks, where the D was punched more than once and appears doubled. Others may have doubled dies, where parts of the design look like they have been duplicated slightly. These varieties are highly sought after by collectors because they are both rare and visually interesting. If you happen to spot one of these varieties in high grade, the value only increases further. A rare error or variety combined with top condition and full steps can easily reach or exceed the current market value we are discussing today. Now let's talk a little about the historical context of the year 1961. This was the beginning of a new decade in America, a time of change and anticipation. John F. Kennedy had just become president. The country was stepping into the space race. And coins like the Jefferson nickel continued to circulate as a staple of everyday commerce. Nobody at the time would have thought that a nickel in their pocket could someday be worth almost $80,000. But that is the beauty of coin collecting. Time, rarity, and condition transform ordinary objects into extraordinary pieces of history. If you are serious about searching for valuable 1961D nickels, there are a few tips to keep in mind. First, always check the mint mark. Coins struck at Denver will have the D mint mark, while those from Philadelphia in that year had no mint mark. The Denver issues are the ones that contain some of the most valuable full steps examples. Second, examine the steps of Monticello carefully. Even 1 or 2 breaks in the lines can prevent the coin from earning the full steps designation. Third, look for overall sharpness in the strike, brightness of luster, and minimal contact marks. Finally, if you believe you have found an exceptional coin, consider sending it to a professional grading service such as PCGS or NGC. A certified grade can mean the difference between a coin worth a few $100s and one worth tens of thousands. Collectors often talk about the thrill of the hunt, and that thrill is what keeps people searching through pocket change, rolls of coins from the bank, or bags of nickels purchased from dealers. Stories abound of lucky individuals who discovered valuable Jefferson nickels hidden in plain sight. The possibility of finding a coin like the 1961D with full steps in top grade keeps the excitement alive. And when you hear about the astonishing market value of $79,453, it is easy to understand why so many collectors dream of making that discovery. The market for rare coins has continued to grow over the years, with investors and collectors alike competing to acquire the best examples. Auction records show that prices can soar when 2 determined collectors go head-to-head for a rare piece. The 1961D nickel is no exception. Each time a gem example with full steps comes to market, it sparks a wave of interest and sets new benchmarks for value. And because so few of these coins exist in such high condition, demand far outweighs supply, driving the price ever higher. It is important to remember that not every 1961D nickel is worth a fortune. The vast majority are worth only face value or a small premium to collectors. But the key lesson is that rarity and condition matter enormously. A coin that looks ordinary to the untrained eye might hide the potential to be extraordinary. That is why collectors emphasize education, patience, and careful examination. By training your eye to notice details, you give yourself the best chance of spotting something truly special. Another fascinating detail about the Jefferson nickel series is how it has become a playground for variety specialists. Because the series has been in continuous production for decades, with billions of coins struck, there are countless varieties and errors scattered throughout. The 1961D issue is just one example, but it highlights the fact that treasures can be hidden in years that many people consider common. That is why some of the most successful collectors are those who do not overlook any year or mint mark. They understand that even the most common-looking coin might hold a rare surprise. The story of the 1961D Jefferson nickel teaches us a larger lesson about value. So the next time you come across a Jefferson nickel, do not dismiss it as just pocket change. Take a closer look. You never know if you might be staring at a piece of history that could change your financial future. Welcome back to the channel where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins. Today, we are going to explore one of the most surprising and often overlooked treasures in modern American coinage. We will be focusing on the 1994D mint mark Jefferson nickel, a 5-cent piece that you might mistake for ordinary change but could actually be worth an incredible fortune. As of the most recent market reports, a pristine example of this coin has reached a staggering value of $73,293. That's right, a nickel that could be sitting in a coin jar, tucked in a drawer, or rattling around in your pocket might be worth more than some cars, luxury vacations, or even a down payment on a house. So settle in, because we are going to spend time breaking down its history, design, errors, varieties, and exactly what makes collectors pay tens of thousands of dollars for it. Let us start with the background. The Jefferson nickel has been one of the most iconic coins in United States coinage since it was first introduced in 1938. Designed by Felix Schlag, it replaced the Buffalo nickel and was intended to honor Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and author of the Declaration of Independence. The obverse of the coin features a left-facing portrait of Jefferson, with the word Liberty and the motto In God We Trust alongside it. On the reverse, you'll find the image of Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home. The design was simple yet elegant, and has remained a fixture of American coinage for decades. While the design has seen modifications and updates over the years, the core imagery of Jefferson and Monticello has remained consistent, making the series instantly recognizable to collectors. Now fast forward to the 1990s. By this point, the Jefferson nickel had already been in circulation for more than 50 years. Millions upon millions were produced at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. In 1994, the Denver Mint produced coins with the D Mint mark that, for the most part, went into circulation like any ordinary 5-cent piece. But here is where the story gets interesting. Out of the millions of 1994 D nickels struck, a very small number were produced with exceptional quality or unique characteristics that set them apart. These are the coins that have caught the attention of serious collectors and driven their value sky high. So, what makes one of these coins worth over $73,000? First, we have to look at condition. In the coin collecting world, condition is king. Coins are graded on a scale called the Sheldon scale, which ranges from poor at the very bottom to mint state grades all the way up to MS-70 at the top. An ordinary 1994 D nickel you find in pocket change is most likely to be circulated and might only be worth its face value. However, when you come across a coin that has been preserved in flawless or near flawless condition, free from scratches, wear, or damage, collectors will pay astronomical sums. A coin graded MS-67, MS-68, or even higher is so rare that it can fetch tens of thousands of dollars at auction. Second, rarity plays a massive role. Even though millions of 1994 D nickels were minted, only a tiny fraction survive today in top condition. Many were mishandled, used in everyday transactions, or suffered from storage damage. The coins that were carefully preserved, perhaps by accident, or by collectors who pulled them straight from mint sets, are now the ones commanding top dollar. This is the paradox of modern coins. Despite high mintage numbers, very few survive in the elite grades that collectors chase. Another factor to consider is the possibility of mint errors. Mint errors occur when something goes wrong in the coin production process. This could include double strikes, off-center strikes, die cracks, repunched mint marks, or other unusual features. Some error coins are subtle, while others are dramatic and instantly noticeable. For the 1994 D nickel, certain error varieties have been documented and can add substantial value to the coin. Collectors love errors because they represent unique accidents that cannot be replicated, making them one-of-a-kind treasures. Let us also talk about the demand for Jefferson nickels in general. For decades, this series was somewhat underappreciated compared to cents, dimes, quarters, or silver coins. However, in recent years, collectors have started paying more attention to Jefferson nickels, especially high-grade modern issues. Registry set collecting has become very popular. This is where collectors compete to assemble the highest quality set of coins possible, often submitting their coins to grading services and trying to outdo one another. When only a handful of 1994 D nickels exist in ultra-high grades, the competition among registry set builders can drive prices through the roof. That competitive spirit, along with the rarity of surviving high-grade coins, has directly contributed to the massive valuation of $73,000. Now let's put that number into perspective. Imagine holding an ordinary nickel in your hand. It's something most people would overlook. Yet for collectors, that same coin, if flawless and rare enough, is worth more than $73,000. That kind of value is mind-blowing. It reminds us of the incredible hidden treasures that might be lurking in plain sight. This is why coin collecting remains such a thrilling and rewarding hobby. Every coin you examine has the potential to reveal something extraordinary. The story of the 1994 D nickel is also a lesson in patience and preservation. Many of the coins that now sell for huge sums were saved by people who had the foresight to protect them carefully. Whether they were pulled from mint rolls, coin sets, or banks, their survival in pristine condition was not by accident. Collectors who knew the importance of preservation ensured that decades later, these coins could shine in auctions and achieve record-breaking prices. Another interesting aspect is how the coin market itself influences value. The price of a rare coin is not set in stone but fluctuates based on demand, the number of collectors actively seeking it, and the availability of high-grade examples. The $73,293 valuation reflects current market conditions where Jefferson nickels, particularly rare high-grade examples, are in high demand. If more collectors enter the market, or if fewer examples appear at auction, prices could climb even higher. It is worth noting that not every 1994 D nickel is going to be valuable. Most will only be worth 5 cents. But the key takeaway is that the possibility exists for certain examples to be worth a life-changing amount. This is why collectors emphasize the importance of checking every coin you come across. You never know when an ordinary-looking nickel could turn out to be an extraordinary rarity. If we think about the journey of such a coin, it becomes almost poetic. Minted in Denver in 1994, perhaps stored away in a collection, protected from circulation, graded decades later by a professional service, and then auctioned off for tens of thousands of dollars. The coin has traveled through history as both a piece of currency and a work of art, carrying with it the story of Thomas Jefferson, the craftsmanship of the mint, and the passion of the collectors who treasure it. For new collectors watching this video, let me share some advice. If you come across a 1994 D nickel or any Jefferson nickel from the 1990s, examine it closely. Look for signs of exceptional condition. Check if the coin has full steps on Monticello, which is a detail collectors especially prize. Full steps indicate that the coin was struck sharply and has not worn down over time. Coins with full steps command significantly higher premiums. Also keep an eye out for error varieties. If you suspect your coin might be something special, consider sending it to a reputable grading service for authentication and grading. The cost of grading can be well worth it if the coin turns out to be valuable. Coin collecting is often described as a treasure hunt, and the story of the 1994 D nickel proves just how true that is. Every coin has a story to tell. Some stories are worth a few cents, others are worth thousands, and in rare cases, tens of thousands. The thrill comes from the discovery and the knowledge that history and value might be sitting in your very own hands. So, the next time you find yourself with a handful of change, take a moment to look closely. That nickel you are about to spend might be worth more than you ever imagined. The Jefferson nickel has always been a part of American life, but coins like the 1994 D show us that even modern issues can be treasures hiding in plain sight. Its current market value of $73,293 is not just a number, it is a reminder of the importance of detail, rarity, and the passion that drives the world of coin collecting. By the end of this video, I hope you have gained a deeper appreciation for the 1994 D mint marked Jefferson nickel. It is more than just a 5-cent piece. It is a symbol of history, craftsmanship, rarity, and incredible value. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be the lucky person to discover one of these gems in your own collection.